start, sir. Um, a very good afternoon to all the participants. This is day 5 of our session, and today we have as a resource person Mr. Harsh Mahaseth. He's an assistant professor from Jindal Global Law School, OP Jindal Global University, and he's going to speak on the topic research paper publication, choosing credible journal. And to coordinate today's session, we have Mr. Harshad Bandodkar. He's assistant professor from GR Kare College of Law. So, Harshad, I request you to
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening, all. I, Harshad Bandodkar, Assistant Professor at VVM GR Kare College of Law, welcome you for today's session of the Faculty Development Program organized by VVM's Govind Ramnath Kare College of Law in association with Law Teachers India. Today, as the resource person, we have Sir Harsh Mahaseth, who is the assistant professor and assistant dean at Jindal Global Law School at OP Jindal Global University, India. He previously held the role of assistant director at the Nakimpao Kingen Center for Southeast Asian Studies and faculty coordinator for JGLS Client Counseling Society. Sir is a visiting faculty at Nalsar University of Law and Mahindra University. He is also the co-founder of Collegeate, which is a platform to help people connect with students and alumni while applying to universities abroad. Sir specializes in the field of public international law with a focus on Asian legal studies, particularly in South and Southeast Asia. Sir has completed his Master of Laws with specialization in Asian legal studies from the National University of Singapore, and Sir has completed his BLLB honors from Nalsar University of Law, India. Additionally, Sir holds a diploma in international affairs and diplomacy from Indian Institute of Governance and Leadership, and also also a diploma in freelance and feature writing from London School of Journalism. Sir has a prolific record of over 40 international peer-reviewed academic journals publications and more than 145 publications in renowned international newspapers, magazines, academic blogs. Uh, his research contribution have been recognized through various accolades, including the Award for Research Excellence, the Best Research Scholar Award, and the Emerging Scholar Award. He has also secured research grants from esteemed institutions such as Ministry of Law and Justice, Government of India, the British Council, UNICEF, and UNEPA. Sir has taught courses and workshops at numerous universities across Asia. He has taught innovative courses including Asian regional organizations and their interplay with law, Asian law policy and governance, the art of legal writing, critical issues in criminal justice, editorial workshops, and foreign opportunity workshops. Sir also sits on various editorial committees of numerous journals. Sir, I welcome you again for this day 5 of faculty development program, and I hope that your session will enlighten us in the field or the topic that has been given to you. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you so much for the invitation to be a part of this faculty development program. So the topic that I have been given is research paper publication, choosing credible journals. And this is a topic that is very close to my heart, something that I've spoken a lot about in my previous talks as well. And the way that I have structured this specific, one second, let me share my screen as well. The way that I am planning on structuring this specific session is that first I'd give a bit of introduction and a backstory as to what I had done, what my story is with respect to research. Then understanding what kind of publications do journals actually search for, because we always tend to think that it's only research papers that journals look into. Then maybe a brief into what to write, and then looking into what kind of places we can send this work to. So let me just see if my screen is being shared. Just give me a minute. Sharing your entire screen. Okay. Can you see this? If so, then I'll start with this. If someone could maybe let me know if they can see my PPT right now.
No, 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 not a.
It's not.
We can
Okay.
say window.
Uh, Let me just see how this happens. Okay, now do you see this? Is the PPT visible?
No, 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 not yet.
Okay, there must be some issue with it. Let's see. The infinite window has opened up. Just give me 1 second. Let me see if I can present my entire screen rather than just a window. Share screen, yes. And now, can you see this?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, great.
You
Okay,
can do a back
so
and forth if it's moving or not. So flawlessly, you can start. You can go do back and forth.
okay, you can see the film
Film matters.
matters.
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
Yes,
yeah.
great.
It's coming up. Yeah.
Uh,
Thank you.
okay, great. Okay, thank you. So let's go back to the PPT. We'll go through the links as well. And what I am aiming to do is also to show you a couple of journals to help you understand how do I identify what is a good place as well. So we'll get to that in the second half. And of course, sometime at the end for if anyone has any questions. So, of course, a photo that I love to start with, which is that, as you can see, not only in library, which is a sea of huge information, even publishing is a huge sea of information with hundreds of journals. If we just take the example of Loctopus itself, I think I nearly see one call for paper every alternate day, if not every day. So that is a lot of journals to have. And it's very easy to get lost in this because if you don't know where to send it to, it does become a problem. And many journals do always claim that they are indexed by XYZ. Is that actually beneficial or not? That's a question that we'll get into. How effective would those journals be for the dissemination of your knowledge? Don't even know that. So there's a huge sea of information. It's very easy to get lost in this. When I started my journey, I was very lost with this because I did not know where to send it to, how to send it to, or even whom to ask because I don't think there was such a strong research focus that I could see amongst a lot of the faculty. And as a student, I wasn't sure whom to approach. Whenever I used to approach my seniors, they would always tell me, why are you even bothering with publications? It's very tough to get published and it's not going to help you with a law firm job. Only that they didn't understand that I was very much interested in research and I actually wanted to get into the field of research. And so while I lacked that guidance, now I think that it's easier to find that guidance, but also it's very easy to get lost within whatever information is given to you. And so, as I said, I have been working with publications since the first year of my law school itself, as I had done a year long internship in which I had looked into climate change and open defecation free zones. So I had actually done field work, and I realized that this field work could be converted into a publication as well. And I started working on this. And in the first year itself of my law school life, I had a decent publication that I had done. And that kind of built confidence within me that it's not that you have to always be 10 years into the profession to actually publish. As long as you have a good idea, an innovative idea, as well as your opinion in it, I think that's what matters. And so this kind of built confidence in me. And in the second year of law school, for my sociology research paper, I had written an article on something, and I felt confident that maybe I should send this out to a good place because why settle for anything bad? And that is the habit that I was building. So I had sent it to this specific journal, the Berkeley Journal of Sociology. Now, this is a journal that is being published by the University of Berkeley, University of California, Berkeley, and it has been published for decades now, if I'm not wrong. So I did not have much hope because I wasn't sure, and the entire air was filled with negativity around me, with no one actually looking into publications, while I was the only one who was actually looking at where should I publish, how should I publish. very interestingly, it passed the first review stage. And I got critical feedback on how to rework my paper. I was really excited to see that this was actually happening. And I reworked it. It went to the second stage. It went to the third stage. Unfortunately, I think I didn't have enough subject area expertise at that point in time to actually complete it. And so after three review stages, they did reject it. But the point was that they did see value in my paper, even when I was a second year law student. And so that gave me the confidence that what I write, as long as it has merit, a lot of journals would be open to taking it. And so I got into this habit of sending my paper. If it's rejected, then I ask for feedback. And based on the feedback, I would rework it and send it out again. It built a habit, and I started publishing like this. Of course, I made mistakes. I sent my journals to my papers to some journals that maybe I could have sent to better places as well. But of course, whatever I've done, I've learned from this and I've built on this. And so, taking you back to my journey, 5 years of undergraduate studies, 5 to 6 courses a semester, which was our minimum. Each course had a written component. So I had a total of 49 of these projects that I converted into publications. Not all of them are journals. Many of them also were converted into some academic blogs. However, a year of masters, 9 subjects, and I published all of them. And if I remember, I think all of them are journal publications. So over time, I learned and I relearned because there are some things I needed to relearn. And that is how I reached where I am. And what is the significance of these publications, at least to me? I'll talk about me personally and then I'll get into why we should publish as well. But I'll just share 3 of these. The first one is an article which actually helped me get a UN project. So a specific UN organization, they read my piece and then they found interest and they actually approached me to work on a UN project. And so a publication actually helped me get that. While the second one, based on which I actually, it was one of my master's papers, that actually helped me build on my PhD thesis. And it actually helped me get into all of the other, in many places that I did get in for my MPhil and PhD. And the third one was actually a publication that I had sent as part of my master's applications to a few colleges. And I got accepted to all of the colleges that I had applied to. So these publications have helped me in some way or the other. And I have found significance in these. However, of course, everyone has their own motivations for these, and we will see that. So just to take this ahead a bit, um, how to publish. There are 3 things that I wanted to look at. First, what works do journals publish? What to publish and where to publish? So the first question, of course, as I was saying, generally we are taught to write research papers, and that is what we generally do. We write a research paper, which is, let's say, 6,000, 8,000, or maybe even 10,000 words. However, there are different types of writings that different journals do take. And even within our Indian law journals, if we have a look, they do make a differentiation between research papers, case comments, and maybe book reviews, I think some places accept. However, there are different types of writing that could be looked into, not just research papers, but short commentaries, maybe like 4,000 words, 3,000 words on a very specific topic or issue that is contemporary in nature, or a case comment as you could be reviewing a specific landmark judgment, not just in India, but any other country. A book review or an article review, many journals actually have space for book reviews, and you could write 1,000 word, 1,500 word book review. And I've written, I think, 2 book reviews so far. Legislation reviews, which are very interesting and a bit lesser that you can see, but reviewing an entire law itself. And very interestingly, movie reviews, which I have written a few of as well, in which you actually review a movie and try to find a specific aspect within it that you can look at. So let's say maybe you could look at it from a political science lens, a legal lens, or any such economic lens, let's say. So there are many different types of writings. And if we actually have a look, of course, we will get to this. This is a journal called Film Matters. It's a leading media journal, film journal, that is published by the University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA. So they publish film reviews, they do also publish research papers. So as you can see, there are many ways to get involved. You can actually submit online, which would be, let's say, 2,000 words. You could send reviews, you could send an open call for paper. All of these would have their own specific requirements. So open call for papers, it would be over here. So if you continue reading, they will tell you what exactly they are looking for and what citation style it is. So as you can see, it's MLA 9th edition with a deadline of September 1st, which is unfortunately, I think, day after tomorrow, but then they will have another call for paper, which might be um, in a few months' time. So that's for film. And of course, I'm not just limiting it to that. Let's have a look at the Oxford Journal of Law and Religion. If you go to the author guidelines, you will see what kind of things they publish. Just because I said there are 6 or 7 different types doesn't mean that they would publish every single thing. To give you an example, Oxford Journal of Law and Religion only publishes articles which are 1,200 words, including references. Shorter and longer manuscripts are admissible within reason, but OJLR generally publishes only articles, book reviews, and case comments. So we can see from here that there are only some specific types that they publish as well. And if I just move here, because I had quite a few links over here as well. I guess there's an issue with the pages loading. Let me reload this page. Oh, I think this might have opened. Yes. So this is Asian Affairs, a journal by Taylor and Francis. Over here, as you can see, the editor welcomes submission of material for consideration as a main article or a review article. Comments on articles previously published in Asian Affairs can also be submitted. So you can actually submit a comment on a previous article. Approximately, generally, it's 5,000 to 7,000 words in length. And apart from that, you would see over here, review articles should be in range of 1,500 to 2,000 words, while book reviews are only 650 to 700 words. Different places would have these different requirements. And so you should check the website to understand what all they publish. And that is actually a good way to understand what you can write on, because it's not always that you would have a research paper in mind. To give you an example, currently I am working on 2 case comments because there are 2 landmark judgments that I'm looking into. So once I identify a journal for that, I start looking for journals. I would want to look at which places would publish case comments instead of research papers, because at the end of the day, what I am doing is a case comment. And I'm actually working on a movie review as well. So I'm trying to identify a nice place to send that movie review out as well. Film matters, I've already sent a few, so I'm not going to send it over there again. I do have ideas though, so let's see how that goes. So the point being that it's not only research papers, there are many other things you can look at. And it's very important to understand your audience. So let's say that you've written a research paper which is based very legally, but you also have a huge component for economics maybe. You would need to understand who will be reading this work, who you're writing it for, and you would accordingly need to draft the research paper according to that. If it's a largely economic paper, you would maybe want to have a journal that has a base not only in law, but in law and economics. You wouldn't want to maybe go for a general law journal. You'd want to go for a specific law and economics journal. If you're writing on, let's say, sports law, maybe you'd want to search for a specific sports law journal rather than going for a broad journal itself. So you need to understand who is reading your work and who you're writing this for. To give you an example, a very clear example I can give is that many a times I don't write in law journals. I also write in social science journals. So let's say I had written something in the Asian Journal of International Affairs. In that specific journal, now I had written about international relations. Had my topic been very international law heavy, I don't think it would have been accepted in that journal because it might have been too legal a topic for an international relations journal. And so that is why you need to understand where you're sending your work to, and that is very important. Now, that being said, in India, I do acknowledge that a lot of journals are generally overarching journals. However, again, as I said, it depends on what the motive is. It depends upon that. So, if you want a wider audience to read it, then maybe you can go for the general journal. However, if you want specific groups of people to read that, let's say if you're writing in a sports law journal, then you can imagine that a lot of people who specialize in sports law would actually read that journal. Then writing in a sports law journal makes more sense because maybe they might not read or even find that article in a general law journal. And always understand the difference between the writer, the editor, and the reader. You as the writer, you'd have the best knowledge in whatever you're writing. However, the editor will have to look at it from a technical lens and they will provide you feedback, of course. The reader, though, might not have that much knowledge, and so for them you need to explain certain things that you might think is very common knowledge. And so a research paper always will have your descriptive parts and your analytical parts. And your descriptive parts is a heavy portion of it as well, which is the first half of your research paper, because it's full of your introduction, your history, and your a history of cases as well, if you're looking at how it has developed, how a concept has evolved in Indian history. So you will have a large portion of descriptive as well, just because there is, let's say, out of a 6,000 word research paper, if you have 2,000 or 3,000 words descriptive, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad paper. And that's something that you need to understand. Because at the end of the day, you need to explain what you're working on, and only then you can move to your analysis. You can't expect everyone to have the same subject area expertise. So, accordingly, you need to write your draft. So, I just wanted to see if we could do this maybe. Because what we're going to look at next is how to actually think of topics for research papers. So, um, again, please disregard the bracket because I'm asking final topic. I don't think there's any final topics here, but it could also mean that something that you might not be publishing later on. So, can you try maybe thinking of topics that we'd want to publish on in and publish in a good journal? And it could be any topic. It does not even have to be law specific. This is just purely for a discussion. It doesn't even have to be a topic that you necessarily are working on, is what I'm meaning over here. So maybe we could take a couple of comments, and based on the comments, I just want to explain these to you, and then we can move forward. So let me just come back here and stop presenting to see if anyone has any ideas that they might want to share in the chat, or you could also speak, and I'll just note it down so that we can have this. Okay, thank you so much. Transgender rights in Indian context. I see one comment pop up. Anyone else? Again, please feel free to give any topic. This does not have to be something you're working on. The topic I generally use, and I'll use it over here, because I do focus on South Asian studies as well, is analysis of SARC. Yes, I see someone has unmuted.
Yes.
Please go ahead.
Yeah. Yes, Kannan.
Good afternoon, sir. I would like to write or think on the time frame of the judgments because, for instance, today I saw the judgment which was for the Sikh riots, and it was in '84 and now 2024, and that also in the first court. So you see, by the time it reaches Supreme Court, none of the people would be alive. So, can we have something on that?
Okay, sure. Thank you so much. I think we have 4 or 5 topics, so we'll work based on these. So let me proceed with this. Okay, so If you have a look at your chat box, and I'll get back to the PPT in a few minutes, but let's have a look at the chat box. There are 5 topics that we see over here: transgender rights in Indian context, analysis of SARC, which is the topic I proposed, IPR for folk songs, legal framework related to public health emergencies, and time frame of judgments, something that we just saw right now. So, when we're writing a paper, there are a couple of things that I think we need to keep in mind. And let me see, I think I have those in my slides. So let's go back to the slides. When we look at what to write, there are a couple of things that I find very important. First is, of course, identifying a topic. And in this, personal interest can make the research process more engaging and enjoyable. Of course, if it is something that I enjoy working upon or something that I feel very passionately about, I will definitely do better work rather than if someone is forcing me to work on something. And so let's say if my interest is in environment law, I'd work really great if there's some topic that I really want to work on. However, if someone gives me something that I'm not really interested to work in, let's say if it is a topic related to maybe corporate law, um, maybe something else, IPR, let's say, which I'm not particularly interested in, then maybe the output that I would give would not be the 100% that you would have had the topic been something that's of more interest. However, do remember the second point, which is you need to balance your personal interest with the feasibility of the topic. Because at the end of the day, if you really want to publish in a law journal, then you would have to have a legal topic. You can't just think of any topic and then bring it out. And of course, discussing with peers is a very good way, or not even just peers. Sometimes I discuss my topics with my students as well. I remember in environment law class, I had a topic in mind, and me and my students actually had a very nice, healthy discussion for the next 20 minutes on my topic. And I have worked on that topic, and it's about to be published as well. So, discussion with not only peers, but anyone actually can actually help you generate ideas. And for this, you always review what has been written, you identify gaps, controversies, and areas that need further exploration. And I'll get to the examples in a minute. And always look at what is the significance of contributing to the body of knowledge rather than duplicating previous research. Because at the end of the day, you would want to have a unique idea, something that has not been written before. And if you have that, then definitely your paper is going to be great. But just coming to here, coming to a research topic or question, there are 3 things that I generally say are very important when working on a research paper, and it's contemporary relevance, specificity, and novelty. Contemporary relevance, barring some very historic topics related to history, um, there is no point in writing of something if there is no relevance in present day society. Okay, I'm analyzing something that happened 100 years ago. However, that 100 years ago, if there's no relevance to present day society, I don't see much reason to write on that topic. And the third point, which is novelty, if the idea is something that has been written by hundreds of people, then there's no point in working on it again. The clear example I always give is with respect to marital rape. I think marital rape is a very important issue. However, the research on marital rape is very overdone right now. I always make this statement, and I'm pretty sure it will be true if there are assignments that are being provided to students as well. In my criminal law class, nearly every section, 1 or 2 students would be writing a paper on marital rape. It is such a topic that is so much there, out there, that you will find hundreds of publications on it. So, unless you bring a novel argument into this topic, there is no point in working on it. And the third is when you're writing a research paper, you need to have a very specific research question. And this is where I would want to go to the exercise that we had. So just moving back over here. Okay. Let me stop presenting for a few minutes. So let's have a look at what we have in our chat box. We have transgender rights in Indian context, analysis of SARC, IPR for folk songs, legal framework related to public health emergencies, and time frame for judgments. Now, in these, I think there's a contemporary relevance for all of these issues. All of these issues are very much relevant in present day society and are important. Novelty and specificity are two things that might need to be checked over here, because I think nearly all of these already have a lot of research in them. So a novel research question needs to be created out of these. And specifically, the specificity is something that might be missing in all of these, because these are very overarching subjects. To give you the example of the transgender rights that I have written over here, transgender rights in Indian context is a very broad subject area. Analysis of SARC is also a very broad subject area. And you can think about this, that in any of these topics, I think you can work on a PhD thesis itself. I can write 100,000 words on transgender rights in India, analysis of SARC, IPR for folk songs, legal frameworks related to public health emergencies, as well as time frame of judgments, even deepfakes. I think these are topics that would have a lot of information in it. And now we need to make this specific. And I'll take you back to my slides in a while. However, in my slides, I did have something written which was narrowing down the scope. You start from a general area of law and then you try to move to a more specific topic. I'll give the example of SARC and then maybe we can take one or two other examples to see if we can make it. Analysis of SARC. SARC is too broad to write one 5,000 or 6,000 word research paper on. We have to make it more specific. We make it more specific by maybe looking at one division within SARC. There are 8 divisions in the SARC Secretariat. So let's take maybe the energy trade and transport, energy trade and technology, I think it's called, division. Within that division as well, it's too broad because that's a huge division. Maybe we can take one specific agreement and analyze that agreement and its implementation. So it becomes more specific. Transgender rights in Indian context, again, very broad area. Maybe we can analyze the within transgender rights, maybe we can look at the past decade. It anyways became more specific when we look at what has happened in the past decade. Then maybe we can have a look at the implementation of certain policies and principles that might have been given in a landmark judgment with respect to transgender rights. That makes it even more specific. To give an example, I had actually worked on a topic, again, it's Nepal specific, but in Nepal, we had a landmark LGBTQ rights judgment decriminalizing homosexuality in 2008, if I'm not wrong, which is the Sunil Babu Pant versus Nepal government judgment, 2008. I published a paper last year looking at what has happened since that specific judgment. So, post Sunil Babu Pant, has there been any changes in legislations and policies that has made Nepal more LGBTQ friendly? That is something that I published last year, and that is of contemporary relevance and specific because I'm looking at what has happened post that landmark judgment. Something similar can happen over here, and I'm working on, which is what has happened post Navtej Singh Johar, which I think is a very important topic to work on. A legal framework related to public health emergencies, again, that maybe is a bit too broad. To make it more specific, we can look at best practices in how India can adopt a legal framework or how an international legal framework can be adopted. So it does become a bit more specific in that aspect as well. Time frame, I think, if we look at maybe specific issues rather than looking at the overarching time frame, could be made specific. So over here, you'd have to start looking at specific research questions. And based on that one research question, you create your topic for the journal. However, I think I've taken a lot of time with this. I'll now move to the main part. Let's see if it's presenting. It's presenting, great. So just to move, structure of a research paper, what all should be included. There are a lot of things that can be included. However, you will generally want to look at the journal itself to understand whether they have specific requirements, because journals do have specific requirements. And as you can see over here, let's remove these two. I think it was here. Unfortunately, I think all of the pages have reloaded, but give it a minute. Yes. Some of them will have specific requirements not just the endnotes and the references, but with respect to title, abstract, etc., etc. Some journals do have that. Uh, Unfortunately, I'll have to reload all of these tabs. Anyways, you have to work as per the specific requirements of the journal targeting. So what worked my papers, I had a division of time, and I have collaborated with many people so far, and it has worked really well for me. And not just the benefit of collaboration, but I've also gotten those reviews to give you the example from the Berkeley example that I had. And while my paper is in review, during that time I'm working on some other paper. So this way I have a healthy amount of papers that I have been working on, and I'm still working on research right now as well. Now, where should we publish this research paper? As I said, Logtopus nearly has a call for papers every day for some journal or the other. How do you identify journals? Which ones are good? Are they all good is another question. And we need to always check what they publish as well. So just to give you the answer of the second and third one, are all journals good? They are not all good. If let's say there are 1,000 journals, then I would actually say that more than half of them are actually bad journals. Well, half of them are good journals. So you really need to identify which is a good journal and which is a bad journal. And how to identify, before you identify a specific place, and I'll give you a couple of links for that, you need to also be clear about your motivation for the publication. So as I told you, the start for me was because I had worked on open defecation in my in my gap year, and I really thought that it was research that is worth putting out, something that will help with dissemination. um, I wanted a large outreach, and so that is what I started my publishing with. Maybe along the line, not citations, but I started liking that people were approving of my research and actually validating it. However, some people do have this want of citations as well, while some, or actually many academics,
Hello, Harsh. Harsh, are
The connection is lost, I think so.
yes, 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 yes. So, participant Harsh is joining in 1 minute, so got disconnected.
Okay, sir.
Yes, apologies. There was a power cut over here, so it takes one for the generator to kick in.
Okay, sure, no problem. Yeah.
Yes, unfortunately, there are power cuts that happen in Sonipat. So okay, let me get back to the presentation. Yes, so it all depends upon the motivation that you have, because based on your motivation, where you would want to publish actually differs. Now, to give you an example, there is something called Scopus Index journals. Um, Hopefully, many of you have heard of Scopus Index journals. There is something called the UGC Care List. Hopefully, you've heard of those as well. So, Scopus Index journals and UGC Care List journals are basically journals that you would want to publish in for appraisals generally, because many universities have appraisals or incentives based upon the number of Scopus Index journals you've published or UGC Care List journals you've published. And even for promotions in government law colleges, if I'm not wrong, you need to have a specific minimum number of UGC Care List journals that are required. So, for appraisals, these are very important. However, not every single journal is Scopus indexed or in the list as well. So it's something that you would have to think about. To give you an example, if we have a look over here, Indian Law Review, let's take the example of Indian Law Review and NUJS Law Review. So, which is by NUJS, Indian Law Review, which is an academic led journal which has a great, stellar editorial board and publishes great research as well. Both of these publish great research. However, the Indian Law Review is Scopus indexed, NUJS is not Scopus indexed. Now, if you know, NUJ's law review articles have been cited by many Supreme Court judgments. I think the Navteej Singh Johar case had it, or the Puttaswamy judgment also had it. We have seen that research papers have started to be cited by Supreme Court judgments as well. And that was mainly NUJ's law review. However, this is not Scopus indexed, but the outreach, as we can see, is quite good for the Indian market. So, if I wanted to publish something which is an India specific topic, if I had to choose between these two places, I would most probably choose NUJ's Law Review because it would have a wider outreach. While at the same time, if we have a look at Indian Law Review is a Scopus Index journal. So that would actually help me with my promotion. But that being said, even though it's a great journal, it might also be behind a paywall. And if it's behind a paywall, then we would need institutional access for this, which anyways limits your it limits the number of people that will actually read your work. So I would choose Indian Law Review if I actually was looking for the appraisal aspect of it, not NUJS Law Review, even though NUJS Law Review might have a wider outreach and it might help me get more well known in the community. To give you the example of the short article I'd written for Al Jazeera, again, is not Scopus indexed, but it helped me get a UN project. I could have sent the same research to EPW, which is Scopus indexed, and they would have maybe published the 2,000 word article that I had written as well. However, I chose Al Jazeera over EPW because I knew that there would be a wide outreach in Al Jazeera over EPW. So, just to explain Scopus as well as what it is, so just give me a minute and I'll open it up. And apart from Scopus journals, I generally do look at, let's say, different websites to find call for papers. Of course, I've been giving the example of Loctopus. That's also because it's a very widely well-known website as well. That's one of the places that I would also look at if I want to publish in Indian law school journals, because at the end of the day, I think Indian law school journals are great. So to give an example, I have Loctopus open here. Um, I need to reload the website. I would check this to see whether they have any call for papers open for Indian law school journals. There's this other website called Knowledge Tees, which also publishes call for papers, and I think that I check this a lot as well. And one interesting fact about this website is that in this website, I actually do see some where they actually mention Scopus Index journals as well. Let's see if I can find an example over here. Um, Maybe it's not on the first page. Maybe there is something on the second page. However, they do publish call for papers not only India specific but also from outside, which is an interesting method that they've employed. So coming back to Scopus, if I want to know if a journal is Scopus indexed or not, I'd open the Scopus journal rankings as you saw. I just opened it. And we can search subject area wise. Now, subject area wise, you will find hundreds of journals, law journals. Let's do subject wise first. So if you don't know where to publish, you'd open this, you'd change it to subject area. I think my laptop's a bit slow. Just give me a couple of minutes. Subject area, and then I would add law. So social sciences. Now it will only show me law-related journals. Does this mean that the 1217 journals are all Scopus indexed? It does not. These results that it showed is not a definitive result that all of the listed journals are Scopus index journals. Why is that? That is because this also includes all the journals that were indexed by Scopus even previously. So you have to be very careful. And for this, it's not only just finding the name of the journal in this list, but you have to open it up and actually check whether it is still a part of Scopus or not. So let's I think I'm a bit stuck over here. Okay, let me just open any of these. Let's say Business and Human Rights Journal, number 105. Is it Scopus indexed? Let's find out. I've clicked on it. It's loading, and it should load in a few seconds. As you can see, it does show the scope, and it says it's from 2016 to 2024. That means that this is indexed in Scopus this year. And so if I publish it this year, it will be indexed this year. So you need to check this. It's a two-factor check, let's call it, where not only do you have to check the name, whether the name is in the list, but you also have to open it up to see whether it is covered this year or not. And one very important aspect that I will tell you right now is to check who publishes it. And I will get to this in a few minutes. However, this is one way to search. Apart from this, of course, what I generally do is instead of going through 1200 names, I prefer to search by title. And in title, I generally don't add the name of a specific journal directly. What I do is I try keeping key search terms for that specific journal. To give you an example, let's say if I'm interested in environmental law, I'd write environmental law and I'd see what all I get. Environmental law. As you can see, there are already quite a few that would be coming up. So if I want to write something on environmental law, there are 28 journals, which is a good number to have. And now that I know that there are these 28 journals, and it will open up in a few seconds. Yes. Now that I know that there are 28 journals, I would open up all of them to see whether they are still indexed in Scopus or not. To give an example, let's take environmental law review. I had written for this journal. When I had written for it, it was indexed in Scopus, which was last year, I think I had written for environmental law review. As you can see, it's still indexed in this year as well. To give another example, let's see, I don't think we need to see others, but I also had written for the Asia Pacific Journal on Environmental Law, and I had written it this year. I think it just got published a few months back. It is also published. It is also indexed in Scopus this year. So not only do I need to look at whether its name is here, I have to look at if it's indexed this year or not. And so if it is, you can consider writing for it. And again, as was already mentioned, open the website link, journal link, and then see what all types of articles they would accept. Very similar to the Asian Affairs Journal over here. If it accepts something, that's great. This one is still opening up, but this is the American Journal of International Law. And the reason why I wanted to show this is because it accepts a lot of different types of articles, as you can see. Not only does it accept articles up to 30,000 words, it accepts essays up to 11,000 words, current developments up to 11,000 words, editorial comments up to 11,000 words, book review and review essays of 5 to 8,000, international decisions and decision essays of 3,500 to 8,000, and contemporary practice of the US, which is not open to outside submissions, unfortunately. So until here, you can see that there are different types of submissions that they accept. And so not only would I look at the journal, I would also look at the word count and what kind of submissions they take, which is very important. So now, that being said, Indian Law Review, NUJS Law Review, we've already spoken about what matters. So if maybe the wider outreach matters, as was mentioned here, or even if citations matters, maybe I think NUJS would have been more beneficial. If international exposure is what you care about, or the promotion or appraisal is on the mind more, then maybe the Scopus Index Journal would be important. Okay, so that being said, I had also mentioned over here that always check the place and what they publish and who are the editors. Because I have seen this trend right now that a lot of journals, and I question their credibility, they advertise themselves as being indexed by XYZ places. I think they name 10 different places. It sounds like a big deal to a lot of students and even to a lot of us academics as well. However, it isn't very tough to get it indexed in those. The tougher indexes are the UGC as well as Scopus indexes, which they don't have. So there might be journals that might just be called, as you can see this one. This is just one example I have. Again, I don't know how good the journal itself is, but it's International Journal of Law and Legal Jurisprudence Studies. You will find a lot of these international law journals, International Journal of Law, International Journal of Legal Studies, International Journal of Law and Research. These type of journals, they would market themselves by saying that they are indexed by 10 different places and you can publish with them only for a small fee of 1,000 rupees. Those are places that I would raise red flags for myself because I would not want to pay to publish my journal articles. All the places I showed you before this, Indian Law Review, NUJS Law Review, Oxford Journal of Law and Religion, American Journal of International Law, all Scopus Index journals that I showed so far, they don't ask for a fee for publication. And I feel that as soon as you ask for a fee, that raises a very huge red flag for me. Not just that, if the journal is not backed by a law school or a university, that is also generally a red flag. Now, the exception over here was the Indian Law Review, which is, however, has a great editorial board, and that is why I mentioned check who are the editors and also what they publish, who have written their articles over here. It's not bad that a student has written an article. I know some of my students who have published their works in NLS journals and NALSA journals. However, that doesn't mean that it's only going to be student publications you'll find there. Generally, in these prestigious journals, you would find many distinguished scholars also writing their articles. So you should at least see who all have written for that journal, as well as who the editors are. If the editors are students, anyways, I think that would be another red flag for us. We would want to find journals where editors are academics. At least students can be student editors, but there needs to be someone overseeing what they do as well. So I would generally try to stay away from journals that have international in the name unless they are UGC or Scopus Index journals. Again, over here, I think Google Scholar is very important for us as well, and I don't think I need to go into this. But when we were talking about citations, I think a lot of people do look at citations. They do look at what are H index and I-10 index. If you have heard of it, to give an example, maybe I can give you my previous vice chancellor, um, Professor Faizan Mustafa. Um, just showing his profile just to show the H index and stuff, nothing else. So let's go into this is a search, and of course, I another very interesting thing. This is not the topic for it, but I use Google Scholar a lot to do my research as well. I think it's a very good first level of research. Now, in promotions as well, I think that what you'll see on the right hand side over here of citations, H index, and I-10 index are also very important. Um, I don't know for myself. I don't do it for citations. However, having citations is also a good indicator. So having a good H index or a good I-10 index might be a good sign to show that people actually read your work. And I'm not sure if I'm signed into this or not, but I am not. My profile. Okay, I was signed in. So a pretty decent start that even though I started writing in 2015, I think my first citation started coming in a few years later in 2020, and then it's been steadily increasing, which I'm very happy about. Seeing that actually what I'm writing has some credibility and validity. And the number one citation, very interestingly, is an article that I had, a research paper I had written for a project of mine. However, one other thing I want to also discuss when I'm looking at citations is that if you have a look at the top, most of these, like all of these citations that you see over here, these are actually from all of my open access journals. None of them are from the closed access. The closed access, I think, would be somewhere down here if I find any um, analysis, climate emergency differences. I think this is the first one, Deconstructing Identity Crisis, which is 2024, which is actually closed access. The other are all open access journals. So even this one, which was Asian Journal of International Law and NUS Journal, this one also was open access. And because it was published open access, it has a good amount of citations as well. So when you're looking at large outreach, again, a lot of Scopus journals might be behind a paywall. So you might want to look at places that publish open access. So moving on from Scopus and UGC Care List, if I'm looking at places to publish in India, I generally look at journals that are published by law schools. I believe that law schools build credibility. And I look at websites like Lawtopus, Bar and Bench, Live Law to find these places. And I would never send out my article to any place without verifying the place first. Even if it's a law school journal, I would want to know if it's its first edition, second edition, who are the editors, etc., before sending it out. Now, evaluation, I've already shown you a couple. I'd be happy to send you the slides. However, there is one other thing I wanted to show you, which is these links. As you can see over here, this is the Journal of Positive School Psychology. This is Special Education, which is both of these are Scopus Index journals, or were at least until last year or the year before that. As you can see, they have the Scopus image over here. Over here, you can see the Scopus image. There are Scopus images. If you go to Scopus, until last year, these were part of Scopus as well. However, the very interesting part about this is that these are cloned journals. This is the actual Journal of Positive School Psychology. And as you can see over here, there's an important notice as soon as you open this, which says, it is observed that some third-party websites, especially from India and Malaysia, are falsely claiming to act on behalf of the Society of Psychology and Education and Journal of Positive School Psychology, and their legal team is taking action against it. Same for this journal special edition, as you can see here. We see an attempt to mimic the journal, and they have actually given the website of this journal We consider such an attempt as a good appreciation of our efforts to keep higher, blah, blah, blah. It is a fake and predatory website. Now, in the process of publication, there is this publish or perish mentality that we do have, and a lot of academics do fall into the pressure and they do prefer paying to publish in Scopus journals. To give you an example, if you can see this was an email I received, I think 29th, which I think is today itself. That's why I didn't delete it because I want yesterday. I didn't delete it because I wanted to show you this. I received this email from an international journal of law and religion, I think it was. No, International Journal of Religion, which they're saying is an open access peer reviewed Scopus Index journal. And
Sorry,
they would publish my.
sorry, we are not able to
Yes?
see email. Have you opened
You
email?
can't see my.
No, not yet.
Yes.
No. We just see only
Um,
gender positive school psychology.
can you not see this email that I have?
No. Just showing
Okay,
the page is
once.
gender positive school psychology.
Okay, 1 second. Let me just save the email. Um, export as PDF. Just give me 1 minute. So, anyways, what I'm saying is that I had received an email, and let's see if it has been saved. Email is here. Can you see the PDF?
Yes.
Okay. So let's have a look at the PDF. It says, "Dear scholar, we are pleased to invite you to submit a manuscript to the International Journal of Religion, which is open access, peer reviewed, and is Scopus." Perfect. It's a Scopus Index journal. Exactly what I want for my um, promotion as well, let's say. So, of course, I'd want to publish that. However, do you see what it says below that? Fast publication in a couple of days after payment. And how much is the payment? It's 650 US dollars. Now, first, I doubt whether that website is the actual website or the cloned website. Second, 650 US dollars to make a publication. I would rather put in hard work and publish in a place which does not ask for any fees at all. So I generally delete these emails as soon as I get them. However, because I had this session today, I thought I'd save this email to show it to you. This such type of emails come very regularly, and most of the times these are from predatory journals or clone journals. I have provided a link to some of these places, and here are the websites. So these are some clone journals, as you can see over here. They've provided the left and the right, which is the actual journal, which is in UGC Care List, and which is the clone journal. It's very important that not only do you check on Scopus whether it's Scopus or not, you also check to know whether it is an actual journal or not. To give an example of some indicators of whether it's a clone journal, what we can do is we can just have a look at the archives. And I love doing this because it's a huge question of academic integrity. So let's have a look at this. This journal publishes an issue nearly every month, as you can see in 2023. It has nearly one issue every month. There are 12 issues. So,
So sorry to interrupt, but we
yes,
cannot see the journal. Even the previous slide, it was not visible. If you could please put it again.
the
The
website you can't
Yes,
see.
the websites which you had compared.
1 second. So you can't see the websites. Uh, let me just stop presenting and start again. Share screen. Share screen. Okay. Can you see this list over here of list of clone journals versus actual journals? A
Yes,
list
yes.
that was
Now
made.
it's
Okay.
visible.
Okay, great. So there was this link made where there are many 39 journals, UGC care list journals, that have the actual, these are print journals, these are not online journals, while there was an attempt to make a clone journal on that. So there is a list for this. For predatory journals as well, there is generally a list that comes out, and you can always open that list, updated list you would find. As you can see, here's the list of all the names. So one identifying factor for me is when we have a look at the journal. If you can have a look at this, this is Journal of Positive School Psychology. This is the clone journal. In this, can you see how many people have published in one issue? There are 1500 pages in one issue. There were 12 issues in a year. When we see one issue every month, I would not expect to see three or more than 3 or 4 publications because that is a huge task. So how can we have so many publications in one issue of 1 month? So I would always look at the website and try to see. Generally, even Scopus, that is why I was telling you have to look at the publisher, because Scopus gives you the publisher. You would need to see if it is the publisher or not. As you can see over here, these journals, they have written PKP on the top, wherever the cross mark is coming. While the actual journals are by other people. The Journal of Positive School Psychology is by the Society of Psychology and Education, while Special Education is by Vilnius University Press. So when you're looking at these journals, it is imperative that you look at the journal itself, look at the website, look at who the publisher is, and very importantly, look at how many of these issues they have published. Because let's say that you did pay the money as well to publish, and if it gets published in a clone journal, not only do you lose the money, you also lose integrity, and your paper will forever be in a clone journal. So that being said, be very careful with this. There are links to identify clone journals as well as predatory journals. I would say that if there is money involved, generally they are predatory journals. I have not found any journal that has a reviewing fee that is paid to the peer reviewer. Open access is the only time when you can consider paying for a journal. However, open access is only something that is discussed after your paper is accepted, not something you discuss beforehand. And you already know the benefits of open access. However, open access is also quite costly. So whenever there's a fee involved, be very careful with it. With that, I think I would just want to end it over here because I think I've also reached my time. A couple of takeaways that I wanted to give for this was that know what you want, why you want to publish. Once you know the motivation, accordingly you can choose journals accordingly. To take the example of Scopus, UGC Care, or even Indian law school journals. And once you have identified your motivation, then have a look through Scopus, have a look through UGC Care List, have a look through your Loctopus, your Bar and Bench, your Live Law, your Knowledge Teas and all, and identify the best place that fits for you for your publication. And have a look at those particular factors of who the editors are, what has been published so far, and be very careful to check whether it's a predatory journal or clone journal. So with that, I think I will like to end my talk here, and I'm of course open to questions and comments. Thank you. So if anyone has any questions, please do let me know. I would be more than happy to answer anything.
Participants, any question? You can unmute yourself and ask.
If not, I'd always be happy to discuss this even after this session. If you have any idea for a paper that you want to publish and you're not sure whether it's a credible journal or not, I would be happy to discuss that. You can contact me on my LinkedIn, my Facebook, or if you have my email ID, you can email me as well.
So I would like to ask one question here.
Yes.
Now, since you have been publishing in Scopus or UGC Care, we usually see that most of us, we send the articles and it is not accepted. And this, I think all the academicians will face. So is there any specific criteria that these journals look at, especially the Scopus Index journal, that we have to keep in mind when we submit our articles to them?
For this, there are two very important things. The first is when I was talking about what to write, the three things that I was talking about: contemporary relevance, specificity, and novelty. Honestly speaking, if the idea is a novel idea, I can tell you for a fact that even if your paper requires a lot of revisions, the journal will accept it. As I was giving you the example of Berkeley Journal of Sociology, in my second year, when I was a second year law student, they found merit in my idea, and that's why they wanted to take it forward. So if they find an idea that is unique and novel, they will definitely take it forward. How to identify a novel topic is a different conversation in itself. But if you have a very specific idea that's novel, that's great. And second thing that Scopus definitely looks at is the structuring requirements. You have to send it in the structure that this journal asks you. If the journal asks you for endnotes and asks you for 5,000 words, you can't send a 10,000 word paper with footnotes. You have to adhere to the journal as well as the scope of it. To give an example, environment law review is for environmental law topics. If you are writing a paper on tax law, definitely they will not accept it. You have to fit it within their scope. American Journal of International Law, if you remember, there was a section for American judgments or American recent developments. They will not take Indian recent developments. So you would need to identify American recent developments in that specific case. So really, I think it's more of finding a really great novel topic, a specific topic. And if you have that, even if there is a lot of improvement required in your work, they will accept it, subject to revisions. And I've seen that a lot with my journal articles as well.
Thank you very much, sir. Any other participant would like to know anything? Okay, one more query, sir, which usually our students also keep asking us: how important is empirical research that we carry out, or data collection, and shown in your research article?
Yes, so empirical research is actually really effective, to be honest, especially if you have conducted a good amount of empirical research, because that does build on the credibility of your topic itself. However, that being said, I will not discount doctrinal research entirely, because most of my papers, not all of them, have been entirely doctrinal without any such empirical legal research that I've conducted. But that being said, of course, if there is any empirical research that has been done, I think that would be very effective and could be beneficial as well in your publications. To give an example, I conducted a study as part of UNICEF on the effectiveness of the juvenile justice system in Telangana, in the state of Telangana. Now, there was a lot of research that was done. And based on that report and the research that I conducted, I have now been working on a research paper on it. Journals have already shown interest in that research because I have conducted a large study for that. It took nearly 4 months to do all of the ground level research on it. And the report itself took a year at least, if not more. So, of course, conducting empirical legal research is important, but that does not mean that these journals only accept papers that have empirical studies. Journals do accept even doctrinal studies.
Thank you very much, sir, because those are the queries that usually come to our mind whenever we write a research article. Any other participant would like to know anything? In case you all are still thinking, meanwhile, we can take a quick. Okay, there is a question, sir, by Ms. Pooja. Sir, is there a difference between research article and paper? Research article and research paper.
So, I think they're just two different terms for mainly the same thing, because at the end of the day, some places call it a research article, some call it short articles, some call it research papers. There is no such difference unless the journal itself specifies that it wants a specific structure and it wants materials, methods, discussions, etc., etc. So if it just says research article or if it just says research paper and 10,000 words, just consider it to be a research paper. There is no difference between the two.
Okay. May I request all the participants to put on the camera meanwhile, so that we can click a group photo.
So, thank you everyone for patiently listening to me for the past 1.5 hours. Hopefully, this has been beneficial. And I do see another question that has come.
Yes, sir.
Some papers have conclusion followed by suggestions, some have vice versa. What is correct? I generally believe that, again, it could differ from journal to journal, but generally journals don't have a structure for this. But I provide suggestions first, and after providing suggestions, I provide a conclusion, which is basically a summary of what I have said above. So I generally use that method. If a journal specifies something, you follow that. Otherwise, you can follow suggestion then conclusion, or a lot of people also write the suggestions within the conclusion. But there is no suggestion after conclusion, I think. And where can we get a consolidated list? That list is something that I also find tough to find. I generally use different universities. So let's say, I think a couple of months ago, which university was it? I think it was Savitri Bai Phule
Yes, sir.
University.
Pune
Uh,
University. That
yes,
they have it on their website.
they have it on their website, and I
Yes.
generally look at their website for the list. So you can maybe have a look at that list. And of course, it's always updated, so maybe there's an updated list now.
So one more question is there. Does inadvertent publication in predatory journal impede one's subsequent research?
In terms of acceptance,
Yes.
um, maybe I don't think it affects the acceptance in another journal. But of course, having your research in predatory journals is a damp on your career, nevertheless. It might not affect when you publish in a different journal. They won't do a check to see where all you've published. But whenever you're applying somewhere for a job, let's say, or for any positions, or when you take up some position later on, then they might do a background check for it. However, the journals, when they are publishing, they don't do background checks for this. So hopefully that answers your question. That being said, of course, my advice would be not to publish in predatory journals. They're not going to help you at all. Yes, I think
Any
that's
further question, participants? Okay. Uh, yes, I heard. Okay. So can we conclude then? Okay. I request Mr. Harshad kindly conclude.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Good evening, everyone. I feel privileged and honored to propose the vote of thanks on this occasion. On behalf of Govind Ramnath Kare College of Law and Law Teachers India, I convey my deep regards and hearty thanks to Sir Harsh Mahaseth, the resource person for today's session, for enlightening us on the topic of research paper publications, choosing credible journals. I'm sure, sir, with the knowledge that you have shared with the participant today, they will be in a better position to handle the complexities involved in how to choose the research paper publication. Because when we are choosing journals for publishing, it is very important that we choose the right journals for this purpose. And you have clarified the complexities that are involved in how to choose it. Thank you very much, sir, for your enlightening session. My high regards to Dr. Maria Goretti Simoes, the officiating principal of our college, for her constant support and encouragement, for motivating us to organize various programs and providing us with all resources that are needed and guiding us whenever she could. I extend my gratitude to Dr. Kalpesh Kumar Gupta, the coordinator of the Faculty Development Program, and the entire group of Law Teachers India for their support and help in organizing this FTP. I would like to also thank Dr. Shruti Natkani, the coordinator of the Faculty Development Program, and all the members of Research Cell of GR Kare College of Law for all their help rendered in making today's session a success. I would like to also mention the support which is provided by Assistant Professor Sapresh Devidas for his technical assistance. Last but not the least, I acknowledge the presence of all the participants for today's function and extend my thanks. I'm sure that all of you, including me, have taken valuable input from today's sessions. Thank you and have a good day. Thank you all.
Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much, sir.
everyone.
In my
Thank you,
personal
Harsh.
behalf,
Thank you.
also, we have learned a lot about the journals, which is a big question mark before all the academicians. Uh, so, thank you very much, sir, for a very insightful session. And thanks to all the participants. And we meet tomorrow at 4:30. Okay,
Okay.
thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
Harsh. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.